Okay. All right. Here we go. Where's my notebook? Oh, I can't see, bro. It's right over here. Welcome to the first podcast episode of Goblin or Guy. Today, for the first episode, I have a very special guest here. One of Equestria's cultural resource specialists. Um, Tell me about yourself. What's your name? I mean, we know your occupation, but just passions and we're gonna kind of have a debate, like kind of like a unbiased. I'm a little bit uninformed with the events that are happening in Equestria right now, and I'm sure most people are. And we're just kind of looking for like maybe a little bit of a debate, maybe a little bit of a conversation, just fact versus opinion. Maybe just we're gonna I don't know. Tell me about yourself, and then tell me a little bit about your occupation and what you do for Equestria.
Sure. So ultimately, my fascination with the history, right, and the cultural background of the different environments that we find in Equestria was, it fostered when I was young. Ultimately, when I first began discovering this different kind of nature that exists outside of what we have here. When it comes to being informed, or having the facts as you described, as opposed to an opinion, that's exactly what I'm here for, right? I have almost no stance of my own, see, because that's not what my job is. At the end of the day,
Absolutely.
my job is just to know everything.
I can understand that you have the job to know. I have the job to hear. It comes along with my ears and my I don't know, just but I think we're looking for some real insight, and this will be an exciting interview. I'm excited to have you on here. Um, I guess we could kind of go into some questions and a little bit of a debate, and hopefully I learned something. Maybe I could teach you something. I'm a little bit uninformed, but maybe just from an outside perspective, someone who's not as involved, it might, we could teach each other. But all right, let me get into this a little bit. I got some questions written down. Whew. Okay. Wow, I'm just looking at this now. There's a lot going on here. Um, let's start with we everyone knows the core six.
Right.
Um, there's everyone's got their bias,
They're fan
their
favorites.
fan favorites. I guess what we're looking for is to go deeper, and see, maybe change some perspectives and really look into these girls. We see friends, but in reality, there's there's some underlying things that aren't being addressed here.
Okay.
Um, so I guess I'm going to ask you, and I know it's unbiased, but who is your favorite pony, and who is your least favorite pony? And I'll go back and forth. We'll go back and forth. We'll have a
Sure.
conversation. Yeah.
So I think, if we're getting right into the meat of the conversation, I think I want to start. We want to end this positive, so I think I'm going to start with my least favorite pony of the main six. And I think if I was going to have to do that, it would have to be Rarity.
I don't think that's crazy to say that. I have a lot of opinions about her. Good and bad. Um, Also, I'm very uninformed on. I wasn't. I'm ignorant to what's happening right now. Um, from an outside's perspective, I think she's almost a cruel individual. She's she's kind of boastful, rude to all the other ponies, um, very prideful. Um, it's kind of hard to. I wouldn't want to be friends with her. Why is Rarity your least favorite?
So throughout all of the main sixes journeys through Equestria, right? The quest they go on to Mount Eris, and all of the time they spent traveling to the archipelago of Rockhoof. Rarity does actually, I believe, have the most personal development, the most growth out of these main six, right? And she finds herself even greater than the other five could stack up to. But At the end of the day, Rarity is a unicorn, and she uses her magic to make dresses, and that's lame as hell. So you could not catch me calling Rarity my favorite.
You know, with my, I do agree with you that she's not. I she might be the lamest pony, but having a horn makes her better than most ponies. And, I would say I'm a centrist, maybe a little bit of a leftist when it comes to the state of Equestria as a whole, but she's she's lamer than all of them, I think, in a way. I think that kind of goes off what you're saying, but I would say I would have a counter argument that the horn makes her better than half of the main six. Well, maybe I mean more than half, right? Like how many ponies have horns?
Out of the main six, there's only two with horns, and Rarity
Whoa.
is one of them.
In a way, that makes her better. Um, yeah. Sorry, continue. I kind of cut you off there a little bit.
No, no, I completely understand. Now, I think the question of whether Rarity is better is actually one worth addressing because the problem that we're running into right now is this existence of Rarity's horn, right? This supposedly makes her better. Now, in the discussion of Twilight, who we will be talking about next, Twilight is actually better because she has her horn, all right? In,
Twilight's your favorite.
this is true, but that is not the course that I mean to go down at the moment. I mostly need an example from season 7 where Twilight Sparkle actually travels through time with her horn.
Through time.
Yeah. Now, this is a pretty big deal, okay? If you had this ability, if you had the kinds of manifestations where you could literally change the course of history and you chose to make dresses, I think that would make you really freaking lame and kind of a dumbass. And even if this supposed power would make you better than the normal pony, we'll say, that you would use it for such a bitch reason does actually subservate your worth and your value in society.
I think there's a lot of factors in here where, you know, you can't always play God. And if you have this opportunity to, I don't know, do something you're passionate about over changing the course of history, it's playing God, it never ends well. And I think she made a very noble choice in a way. I also think I she may be my least favorite out of the core six, but she I don't know. There's a lot of racism that happens with ponies. There is a slur commonly used in what's going on.
Nothing, you're good.
Nothing.
Just
Okay. There's a
go
slur
ahead.
commonly used in the Equestria. I've heard this passed around a lot, passing through, and in a way, it's like if I was a pony, I'd probably have a horn. This is very weaponizing and what's going on?
Go ahead.
Weaponizing, and it targets a specific group. Um, Hornhead. Have you heard that name before?
I have. Hornhead and Bonehead.
Bonehead.
These are both names and classifications that I have
They used to
heard.
call me Bonehead in high school.
No, they did not. But at the end of the day, ultimately, these names are a problem, and I think it's worth addressing. However, I think you are intentionally actually leaving out what has been at least equally of a problem surrounding the areas of Ponyville, especially regarding one of our main six, Applejack, and her little sister, Apple Bloom, who, at least in the last couple of months, has faced criticisms at her lacking of any kind of bodily or genetic mutation or modification. They have no horns, they have no wings. And I have heard of Apple Bloom's own personal experience through my, of course, journalist endeavors that she has been called mud kicker or dirty hoofs.
We don't have to use any explicit terms here. We're just.
I think we do if we want to face the reality that it seems you are actually intentionally disregarding only for the favor of your own original pony character.
You see, a lot of people see not having a horn or wings as a disability, but in ways, if you look at it, the disability is having, or like, it's
Having a horn is a disability.
they're these guys like, I mean, have you ever? Well, we're getting off topic. All right, I think let me ask you another question.
Go ahead.
This is getting too biased. I think I can't handle this conversation right now. Okay, all right. We gotta make sure we have a lot of photos of the main six here. Let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
Look at this pony here. What would you say about this pony?
It's gray.
It's gray. Okay.
It
So
also
first thing
has
I
a.
noticed you looked at was the color of the horse.
You know what you didn't look at though was the bottom of its back left hoof, which you will see a bright, colorful W, signifying its connection to its people. That which, you know, perhaps the color was the first thing I noticed, but the next thing I noticed was the significance to its culture, to its ethnicity, where it comes from, which is reflected in said color, specifically by such a brand.
So
So go
really,
ahead with your initial
so
attempt.
I guess what you're trying to say is, without wings or a horn, a pony is a pony, no matter what, no matter what disability it has.
Precisely.
All right, I could get behind that. What's this little Hoover's name?
Mud kicker.
I have a friend named Mud Kicker. That brings me back. Whew. Sorry, I'm getting a little emotional. You ready for the next question?
Yes, sir.
All right. I have a lot of controversial questions in here. I guess the next one we should go into is, who is your? Let's make it a little fun. What is your out of the core six? Who do you ship the most, and who would you say out of like the fan favorites is the worst ship in My Little Pony?
Well, see, as I previously had mentioned, right? It isn't actually my place to have an opinion, but because you have specifically called to me for said subject, I have to say that starting with the worst, any ship that goes outside the bounds of Rainbow Dash X Applejack is a problem. And we know this because those two in the canon, in the official historical lore of Equestria that we have here, right, that I have been studying for so long, they did end up together. And therefore, any relationship that is purported outside of these bounds is a bastardization of each of their characters and each of their moral convictions with which they display their loyalty to one another.
So you're saying anybody that doesn't ship Applejack and Rainbow Dash is wrong.
Less specifically that if you don't ship them, but rather that if you do ship one with another. For example, Rainbow Dash X Fluttershy. This is wrong. Or Applejack X Twilight Sparkle. This is wrong. They did not end up there.
I hmm. I'm gonna have to disagree. I um I think the most compatible, and I know this is canonically and historically not accurate, but I think most people agree and know it to be true, is that Rarity and Pinkie Pie make a wonderful would make a wonderful couple. I think, Rarity's got that selfish, you know, outlook on life. She has that, I want to say, but she's also got that kind side where she does things for others. And Pinkie Pie has that too. but it's just very different. It's like almost avoidant and anxious attachment styles. You could see this in Pinkie Pie, her family and stuff. It would cause, with her lack of family and source, she'd have this anxious attachment. And Rarity was almost, she's you see a history of her falling in love, and then, when something actually happens with her and she finds love, and then she instantly pulls away. That's the avoidant. Um, I think they have a perfect mix of, I think since they're friends, they could be vulnerable with each other. Um, I really do see a spark between them that most people would either agree with or maybe disagree with, but I think that's the one true ship. Um, and I would say even with Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy, it's kind of the same thing. We see a lot of that. Applejack might deserve to be alone. There's a couple things I have a little bit of gripes with Applejack. We go a little bit back, but she's got a couple views that I'm not fond of. But I don't know. I just had to say my piece a little bit there.
That's interesting that you would say that. I have a follow up question just to
Go,
further expand on your
go ahead.
perspective.
Go ahead.
Have you ever read Othello, written by William Shakespeare? The play.
I don't know how to read.
Okay, that's all right. The main reason that I, approached you with this question is because just the most recent 3 minutes of your monologue just sounded very much like the ramblings of a cuck, and I wanted to expand because the problem that we expressed with Rainbow Dash and Applejack actually is prevalent in the relationship that you, in fact, purported to be the best, because Pinkie Pie already has a significant other, which is Cheese Sandwich. And I know it is not your position to be aware of the ins and the outs of these ponies' lives, but I need it to be made known that
I'm well aware of Cheese Sandwich. We have a history, but what you don't know is that Cheese Sandwich is experimenting with a lot of ponies in Ponyville. A lot of people don't see this. I saw the aside to him that a lot of people didn't, and we have a little bit of a history, romantic friendship. It was a very situational ship, but it was during the events that Pinkie Pie and Cheese Sandwich were hand in hand, and I think seeing that, I think she would be much happier with someone who, you know, it's hard to see it because you come from like a, you see the ins and outs of Ponyville, but do you really see the deep things that happen in Ponyville?
so you're saying that the cuckolding is not being performed by Cheese Sandwich, but instead by Pinkie Pie.
I mean, I didn't say it.
And it is in fact you cucking Cheese Sandwich.
Next question. Next question. Oh, sorry. We just keep. We're getting off topic. We're getting off topic. Um. Every time I look at these, I forget. Woo. All right. Let's go into some politics. I think might be. I don't know. Everybody's kind of wants to know. You know, we're gonna. This is more assumptions. I would say that there's a lot of different things that could be going on here. I think we start with Rainbow Dash and work our way up
Are
to
you implying Rainbow Dash is at the bottom?
well, clearly we're gonna go. We'll start with Rainbow Dash. Um, I think Rainbow Dash sides with side. She's a liberal. She's a libertarian. Um, I don't know. I just there's not a lot of. I mean, there's a lot of evidence. I just can't go into that right now. Would you agree?
I mean, ultimately, I think that is a complicated topic, but I do think that we need to address an elephant in the room, which is Rainbow Dash is rampant. And when I say rampant, I really do mean just not insufferable, but instead almost admirable and engaging, even
In what way?
journey and quest for the racks.
Explain to me the racks.
Let me here. I will instead show you, because as much as I do love the sound of my own voice, I think it is ultimately more important that we use our sources to exonerate the points that we
Whoa,
intend to approach. See,
that's
now,
a very, I would say that's in a way a very, let's say,
anti socialist,
anti-socialist. Yes, I would say very, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, it's go ahead and show them a little
here.
bit.
Here we
Get a
have our
little
article
closer. Yep. Well,
by
show the photo up
the.
close.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if yeah.
So here we have our article by Dark Pony Era, also known as Starlight, her pen name. It says Rainbow Dash ran up 20 bands while you were sleeping. Now,
20 bands.
further into
How
the
does a
article, we
pony do
read
that?
financial analysts across Equestria were left stunned after Rainbow Dash reportedly turned a modest savings account into 20 bands for $20,000 overnight. Economic experts are investigating how one Pegasus managed to wake up significantly richer than everyone else. Rainbow Dash responded with a grin. I don't sleep on opportunities. Apparently, you did.
Wow. So
How
I
can we describe a pony such as Rainbow Dash seizing, nay thieving, upon the opportunities, potentially of others, when they're in the most vulnerable
I
state?
don't understand how a pony making bread would necessarily make them. How would you say? I guess I don't know how that makes them anything. Like it does. I don't think that making bread, hella bread, defines any pony in any sense.
It defines them as a capitalist.
I think a capitalist is a good word for it. I guess that was the word I was looking for, and that's. I mean, I want to argue, but there was a lot of evidence there that I can't really. I might have to do some research for myself, but that article seemed really pretty legit. Um, I think I'm gonna have to take your side on this one. I think we move on. Um, I think next we haven't really talked a little bit about this pony, Fluttershy. Um, ooh, I don't know. This one's a hard one. She's I could see her as moderate. She just seems ignorant to any. I don't think she would have voted in the uh, the Equestria 2024 elections. She seems like she chooses the lollygag, and I don't know. That just give me some insight. Give us some insight on Fluttershy.
I think, in terms of political engagement, you described it perfectly. That throughout all of her time, both in Ponyville and Equestria as a whole, we do know that she started out in the lands of the clouds, but eventually ended up in Ponyville through a fall. It is recorded better than ever that she has made no votes. She has attended zero of the councils held in order to, whether it be make changes to or completely elect new articles and bills. She has done nothing of the sort. However, at least of the last couple of years, we can say she has made significant efforts and made great strides in her own missionary endeavors.
Do you think that even someone like me can be forgiven?
Compared to God's mercy, your sins are like grains of sand thrown into the vast ocean. Do not worry yourself. Instead, repent and do better.
Fluttershy, thank you.
I I mean I don't know. Is she even on the record of to have citizenship in Equestria? Has she even been? Does she have any sort of documentation that proves that she even has the right to vote in Equestria?
As for documentation, it is not necessary to provide examples of such if one is born within the bounds. Now, as for a license to preach and ultimately seek conversion in the way that she has, that is a different issue that is actually being debated right now.
Wow, thank you. That's really insightful. Um, I think that's a. I love that. That's really beautiful. Um, Ooh, this one's getting tough. Let's mix it up a little bit. Let's go back to this little pony right here. Um, Rarity. I am gonna say she's she's gotta be right leaning.
Do you think so?
I think so. I mean, with the capitalist looking things, she's very, I couldn't see her looking at socialism and, being okay with that. I think she's a very, I mean, at times she could be selfless, but, when you have such an image, you have to appease people, she's a very famous pony. She's maybe one of the best, if not the greatest fashion designers that from Equestria. She's one of the greatest. She's I mean I'm tearing up. It's just she's started a legacy, and it's inspired a lot. And not a lot happens in Equestria. I mean, a lot does, but like she's one of the greatest players to come out of Equestria. Still bottom of the core six, but you know her fashion is just indescribable.
It's interesting that you would say that. See, we have actually in the records in season 3 her journey to Manhattan, and her exploits there actually revealed her as quite the representative of communism that one may not expect had they not be
Wow.
educated in the certain sorts of scenarios that she found herself in, where she provided a single dress and suit, be it as it may, to any who asked.
Wow.
Any sort of plea she provided equally. So to call her right leaning would simply just be inaccurate, I think, based on our what we know of her now. Whether she could be deep seated and closeted about her capitalist endeavors is a possibility. But of everything that we have, it doesn't seem as such.
There's a video online where she is eating lunch and she's not sharing with anybody. Uh there were many ponies hungry that day. Can you mind pulling it up and showing them? Um she it just didn't seem like she really cared for anybody but herself in that moment. And as most I don't want to get too one side, but I'd say that's very right of her, not right, but right leaning. Go ahead and show them. Go ahead and show everybody. I'm still shaking from, you know, I just I'm at a loss of words, and it still hurts to see that. Many would say that's AI, but it's we've run it from through Equestria GBT, and there's no that's the film. That's the real footage. I want to what do you have to say about that?
Ultimately, I think it is, obviously, I was already aware of such a film, having it on standby,
Well,
ready
of course, who could
to
not see that?
appear it in the room here. But I think that the problem you're running into is that perhaps in a bogged down capitalist cage that she finds herself in order to present the gifts and the the opportunity, the equal opportunity, one might say, for all of her peers to receive these dresses and the kinds of clothing that they deserve by request, equally, of course, funds must be provided. Now, starting an ASMR, YouTube, or Instagram channel is a way to provide these funds, a modest way. In fact, one that disadvantages no one. And some may say it even provides help to those who listen to ASMR, autonomous, censored, mono-idiot.
Well, we talk about funds, we talk about things. I think there's a lot of nepotism here. I think she you know, it's very clear that I mean, she gets a lot of her funds from maybe some higher, like she's one of the core six, maybe one of like, but that also involves a lot of, you know, there's fame that comes with it. There's endorsement. There's money that's coming in from like sponsors, and the ASMR is a pretty big influence. But it's like I wouldn't say that's a service. I mean, Princess Celestia, look at her. She's she works with some big figures that are probably giving her a lot of money.
Yeah, Princess Celestia is a deity.
Well, I don't know. I saw her talking to. I mean, she has a. I don't know if this is aired yet, but it should be airing. It should have aired like an hour ago. There was a conversation. I think she was going to talk to. It was Benjamin Netanyahu. Um, can you confirm whether or not, like, can you look that up and confirm whether or not she has confirmed or denied partnership with Israel?
Yeah, let's look at that right now. And while I bring up these records that you're so excited about, tell me what kind of influence is this going to have in your eyes on Celestia?
Well, sorry about that, guys. Um, I'm not gonna say who I support and who I don't support, but there is a common, problem in Equestria with, you know, not liking certain groups or individuals or places. For instance, I have this written down. Let me see.
While he looks over, I'll go ahead and
Yeah,
read both the title and the
go ahead
following
and show them
information.
too. I'm just hearing this now too. What does it say?
It says Princess Celestia refuses to send royal guards to Israel following request from Netanyahu. Princess Celestia has declined Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's request to deploy equestrian royal guards to Israel, citing the kingdom's long-standing policy of non-intervention and commitment to friendship and harmony. In a statement from Canterlot Castle, the princess emphasized Equestria's focus on protecting its own realm while wishing stability to the people of Israel.
That's surprising, knowing the fact that there are many flight logs of her on her way to the Mount Eris, and this was before the abandonment. Um, there was a lot of controversial things happening on Mount Eris. That's on record. So I'd like to hear a counter with that.
So ultimately, while we may have these flight logs, supposedly of Equestria making her way to Mount Eris, it is often forgotten that Mount Eris before the abandonment was such a place where one may find distasteful events going on. But more than that, it is the home of the hippogriffs. In fact, of Queen Sora of the hippogriffs, which was a figure influential enough that a deity may require a form of partnership. So it is undeniable that she made her way there. But as for why, what she would be doing, there is no way for us to know.
I'm not gonna. I mean, maybe we'll need to do a little bit more research. I won't confirm or deny which what I think about it is. I think you guys could clearly tell which side I'm on, but let's just try to keep it unbiased. Let's go back through some of the political takes that we have going on. This one, it's gonna be a little bit more complicated. This is Twilight Sparkle. She's the current Queen of Equestria, correct?
That's right.
That's right. Um, I mean, I gotta say, libertarian. There's a lot of evidence showing that she's for the people. She will let anybody into Equestria, whether Pegasus, Alicorn, Pony. You know, you know, we have certain individuals that have been wanting Discord removed from Equestria. Um, but Twilight's, you know, there's some controversial takes, but she's a lot of the reason that there's a lot of harmony, I would say, in Ponyville, in Equestria as a whole. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up the requests of Discord's banishment because ultimately I don't think it is even due to.
Applejack. Sorry.
It has little to do with Discord's own engagement with the society, both as Equestria and of his hometown Ponyville, where he resides with his partner Fluttershy, but instead of the recent, I should say, allegations that he's come up against, the scrutiny he's facing for being in a relationship with Cosmos, who we know from the records of the WIP My Little Pony Friendship is Magic comics, issues 75 through 78. Cosmos, the personification of malice, who actually performed just the most heinous actions you can think of, including turning an entire village of hardworking Earth ponies into ladybugs for no reason other than they were Earth ponies.
Wow.
Now, the question that I would have to ask you is, can we blame Discord for his former lover's actions while she is banished to a shadow realm of which we cannot access nor comprehend, while he is living peacefully?
That's really insightful. Wow. That's changed a lot of my views. Oh, wow, I didn't even. That's wow. Okay. I need. Whew. Let's move on. Let's move on. Um, Miss Pinkie Pie. Very very great pony. Legend of her time. Um, like Pinkie Pie Prime was none other than just just I'm at a loss of words. She's just one of the best ponies.
One of the best ponies, you say?
One, yeah.
That's interesting. How about you explain to me why that is?
Well, Pinkie Pie. You can look at all the core six, and you can have your gripes and your, you know, she's her track record is none other than perfect. I mean,
Is that
at
so?
times you can find her obnoxious and distasteful and just downright like weaponized incompetence. But in the end, she really came through for her friends. She was just happy, and she was happy to be alive. Um, and I would say she cared about everybody. Didn't matter who, how, and anything like that.
It's interesting. Okay, so I have a question. Not disregarding Pinkie Pie for the time being. Let's say I told you that one of the ponies of the main six was actually involved in a heist and was currently being held with allegations against her that involved the thieving of multiple thousands of dollars from a small indie American rapper by the name of Punch Made Dev.
Punch made death.
How would this make you feel?
I would have to see some proof. And I think everyone out there would want to see some proof of this.
That's interesting that you would say this.
Wow, that's a very I mean, without evidence, that's a strong take to have. I feel like you can't just say that without being able to back yourself up. You what is
Allow me to read the headline. Pinkie Pie scams Punch Made Dev for $7,000. Here's a direct DM from Punch Made Dev given at 2:43 a.m. in March of 2024, the 26th. You stupid pink bitch. Send me back my 7 bands before I come to Equestria and get it myself. And Pinkie Pie's response, almost 3 days later, come get your bread back in blood, bitch. A wild online beef has captured the internet's attention after rapper and content creator Punch Made Dev accused the known party planner, Pinkie Pie, of scamming him out of $7,000. Dev has made it clear he has no intention of involving law enforcement, preferring to handle the matter publicly on social media.
That's got to be AI.
Do you think so?
I'm looking at it right now. That's AI. There's Pinkie Pie. I mean, it's not out of her character to speak like that to an individual. Um, and but she's not an envious person. She doesn't need money. I think that's a very bold statement, and I think that's AI.
So, what would you say to the people who reposted and replied to these X posts made during March of
Do
2024?
your research. Don't be ignorant. There's a lot of people that you just can't read everything online as true. I've seen a lot of sources saying, I don't know, like let's say Celestia. Like there's a lot of sources saying, what I was saying about the flight logs. There's even, I mean, you say all these great things about Celestia, but I don't even believe you know Celestia in real life.
Is that so?
I'm almost 100% certain you've never even had a conversation with the queen herself. I say queen respectfully, but there's a little bit of a whoa, wow. 1 second, guys. I'm a little bit shocked. So there's a little bit. Oh, okay.
Well, it's interesting that you would say
I'm
that
shaking.
because
This is crazy.
it's you may not recall, but my title, as
Wow.
stated by you earlier, as the equestrian cultural resource specialist, that's not a title given to just anybody.
Wow. Okay. Let me sit back down. Wow. I didn't stand corrected.
Yeah, you do.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, you are.
I
And in terms of the main six being connected to rappers, what do you say about, in the claiming that this Pinkie Pie scam is a hoax? How about Twilight Sparkle's intimate relationship with the, rest in peace, late XXX Tentacion?
Okay. Everybody knows about the XXX Tentacion scandal that went on. You know, you know, we're in Equestria. They have this thing where you can't move on from your past. I think we all just need to look at it. It was a mistake.
How about Juice World?
I don't think it's fair to judge a pony on how many rappers or men. It's you can look at that in any format. But really, it comes down to like, is she a good person?
How about Lil Baby and Derpy Hooves? The rapper and
This
main
changes
six
things.
connection, in fact, the rapper and the non-main six, simply members of the city of Ponyville. Lil Baby claims Derpy Hooves snitched on all the guys.
All the guys.
Lil Baby says, Derpy a rat. I should have known she wasn't about that life. I thought her ass would have kept it solid, but she snitched on all the guys. But it's okay. Yo ass can't come back to Atlanta. To which Derpy responded, and what if I snitched? Lil Baby can't do shit to me. Laughing emoji. Rapper Lil Baby took to social media Tuesday to accuse Derpy Hooves of cooperating with authorities and providing information on multiple associates. It appears that the slander and, in fact, the acts of aggression against these rappers not only ended nor started with Punch Made Dev, but is a consistent theme that we have to be facing. So do you still claim that these potential tweets, even the entire article, was either written by or fabricated by AI?
I mean, I'm gonna have to see. Like, again, like you might know Celestia, but I can't. You don't know the core six. I don't. I think. I mean, maybe you know like one of the lesser known, like Fluttershy, but I think I'm gonna need some more evidence of history with certain individuals.
It's interesting that you would say that.
Oh
Very
my!
interesting, actually.
How old were you when this was taken?
It was just last year. I was just 20 years old.
Whoa. Um. Yeah. Sorry. Wow. Last year. Holy cow. Do you have any more evidence of you and the Core Six together?
No, but what I do in fact have is instead an evidence of you and your supposed groupies on some
I.
kind of march, some kind of almost a sort of rebellion
Okay.
with one who you claimed was the
I.
bottom and another who you claimed was the bottom even before that of these main six. Would you like to explain this photo?
I don't know. When that was, they must have snuck up behind me when that was taken. I don't remember. Um. Sorry. It's just something I don't want to get into right now. I've changed a lot as an individual. Um. I
Have
can
you
look at
really?
both sides and say there's goods and bads.
But can you say what is the truth? Or is that not why I'm here?
Sorry. Okay. Let's just move on. For the last political stance, we have the very highly controversial Applejack. Um, there's a lot of this one's pretty obvious. I mean, you would say it's obvious.
I would indeed.
Um, there's a lot of evidence of her with certain political individuals of the right leaning. I think there was one with you in there as well.
I was indeed present for
Okay,
multiple of
where you
these
go?
instances.
Yeah.
Now, it was the truth that I was there only for the act of recording. Journalism,
Okay,
some would call it.
journalism.
And truthfully,
That was you guys at a baseball game.
had no political stance. Yes.
Wow. Can I see the photo of you? Oh, I mean, there's also evidence of her being at certain controversial raids. Do you mind showing the audience?
Certainly, we have that as
Sorry.
close as we need.
Yeah. Go ahead. Really devastating. That's just. I mean, there's just a lot. That one's pretty obvious. Anyone could look at Applejack, and you know.
In
And
fact, Applejack's connection to these potential controversial figures goes even further with an article written by, of course, our Dark Pony era on June 27th, just recently, saying Applejack's breaks silence, says she still misses Charlie Kirk deeply. She posted on X at 8:52 on the 13th in 2023.
well, that's
I don't know how she knew, but Charlie Kirk was a good man and an inspiration to a lot of us ponies. He didn't deserve any of this, and I still miss him to this day. And here we have another photo of them
and
posing gleefully.
I would say we all do in a way.
And her even
but-
further. Only a few days earlier, Mayor of Ponyville approves construction of a new Charlie Kirk theme park. Mayor has officially approved the construction of a new Charlie Kirk theme park. The proposed theme park, tentatively titled Charlie Kirk Theme Park, is expected to feature educational attractions, patriotic rides, and family-friendly entertainment inspired by Kirk's values and commentary. Of course, built and sponsored by none other than the Apple family, of which Applejack is the current heir.
I mean, yeah, I mean it's obvious. If anybody is in Ponyville and looking for an attraction, I think this is the best way to show your support. I'm not gonna. I mean, there's a lot of controversy with Applejack, but we could all look at the situation.
Some would say she has gone too far.
Too far in some ways.
In her supposed support.
Yeah, I mean
anyone.
She's completely. Yeah, it's like there's. You can look at both sides of Equestria's politics, and you can't pick one side and say it's inherently evil and one side it's inherently good. There's bad on both, but she's an extremist, and that's really disheartening. All right. Which ponies farts smell the best and which ones smell the worst?
So I think if we were to go in order from least to best, we would have to start with our golden mare Applejack. Certainly, her digestive system can basically contains only apples. Now, that would generally be a pleasant smell. However, we know from her work on the apple farm constantly that she has not showered in probably weeks.
Probably ever.
So it does not come down necessarily to what she is eating, but instead to what she is doing with herself.
I would say, there's no arguing with that. She's, many ponies have reported foul smelling coming, and that's not necessarily bad, but it's pretty obvious that Applejack might have one of the worst out of the main six, the core six. That's not crazy to say that. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna say Fluttershy's farts have to smell quite pleasant.
Why would you say that?
I mean, she's she's got proper hygiene. She, you know, along with the dieting and stuff, she's only eating she's eating natural foods, natural fibers. Um, some would say that makes it smell worse, but a lot of evidence shows that she's her farts would smell quite pleasant. I would say they'd smell like flowers probably. I mean, only we can't know for sure, but I think it's safe to assume.
No, I do have to agree that in terms of diet and self-care, she maintains a very proper pattern and a way of life that is at the very least more clean than our prior subject. However, she does also only hang out with animals. Let's say that they did smell pleasant or that they smelled heinous. No one can ever know. No one will know because only her pets are the ones to experience it.
That's a good point. And maybe one day we'll get full disclosure and hopefully get some insight. But until now, we can only assume that. Hello. Yeah. Okay.
Are we just vibrating? Yeah, we can relocate. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
This is true.
Sweet.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you.
I think we just
Fart
leave
on
that
that
in.
thing.
Yeah, we could say she smells the best.
Yeah.
Let's continue this out there.
Yeah.
And then
Cool, yeah. I'll get the
I think we
papers.
just leave that in.
I think we just leave it.
We could just
So
Okay,
stupid.
Okay, so we're gonna cut the interview short. You want to explain a little bit why?
Due to the interference of a matriarchal figure, we have been banished from the room in which we were initially holding our interview, due to having too masculine of voices that were vibrating and reverberating through the walls.
Our conversations, it was a little impactful and it was a little bit I don't know. It's the media trying to silence us. Could be Equestria, a lot of different things. I guess we'll let you guys form your own opinion. We could just debate all day, but I think we had a pretty civil conversation for the most part. Thank you for coming on. And we will see you guys next time on Goblin or Guy. As many of you know, our interview was cut short last night due to the media trying to silence me and my guest, my co-host of the evening. There's a lot of topics we didn't get to go over. For instance, there's a huge inflation problem happening in Ponyville, in Equestria. Since we didn't get to go over that, you feel free to do your own research. Look up pony inflation. But besides that, we had, I'd say we had a pretty simple conversation. This was the first episode of Goblin or Guy. I'm looking for ideas, interviews I want to do. Shout out to my other channel, That One Goblin Guy, where I post not podcast content, but random content. And for my TikTok, it's dance videos, satire, comedy if you want to call it that. And my YouTube is just vlogs, interviews, getting the deep conversations that a lot of people have a hard time finding. But thank you, like and subscribe. I wanna do this weekly.
For me personally, I've been training my queef ability for my